Yes, I think that when people go traveling, they can never really live a normal lifestyle because when you see that there's a whole new life out there, how can you go back to your normal life, essentially, which is just school, friends, family, going out for dinner, seeing family on the weekend, whatever? How can you go back to that normal lifestyle when you've gone traveling and you've tasted all these types of food, seen so much different weather, so many different people, so many mountains and nature? It's hard to go back to that lifestyle. But at the same time, if you don't go traveling, then you will live a shitty, boring lifestyle anyway. So it's like, do you really want to know that there is a new, amazing world out there if you can't live it all the time? It's like sniffing cocaine, you want it all the time. But obviously, that's a fake high. So it's like, do you want to sniff that cocaine to give yourself a high if you can't have it anymore? Or is it best not to tempt yourself by giving you the experience?
I think it's important for people to travel. And I think it's something that can be done sustainably. And if you're not attached to your hometown, then you'll probably be okay. I left home 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and I've gone back to visit, but I knew pretty early on before I ever even moved away that I was going to be leaving and probably not returning. Um, so I also think that's the thing is that people are like very stuck to their hometowns. Um, to some degree, I think that we're born in those places for a reason, maybe to help the community in a certain way. Maybe if you acquire some specific skills throughout your journey that you can, bring back to the community that helped to kind of raise you. Um, but I moved past this sense of obligation um, to be around the people who were there when I was growing up, and that I didn't owe them my presence, that I owed myself my presence, um, and to kind of just like follow my own lead and not really concern myself so much about returning back home.
So do you believe in, do you know what's called, do you know astrocartography?
Is this is like the ley lines kind of where it's like your astrology chart, but it follows a specific line of degree on the earth. So it kind of like gives you maybe a potential layout of where your physical calling on the earth might be.
So what you just said a second ago about how like you would only go back home to serve the community or whatever. Well, that's like saying you are put in a certain place to learn certain things and lessons from that place, and then you transfer that knowledge elsewhere, or you go elsewhere to bring back that knowledge to, say, the community which is struggling with that knowledge. Astrocartography basically means that your energy vibration is in perfect harmony with where your energy is supposed to be. So the energies of, I don't know, nature and people, you're the same energy as that. So you are attracted there. And then when you say feel like you're awakening, you might go to Bali or Hawaii, for example, and connect with like-minded people who have risen their energy. And so you go over there and you feel more in harmony with nature and stuff like that. Is that what you, does that
Totally.
resonate with? Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely resonates. Like 100%. I actually just like maybe 2 months ago heard of astrocartography.
Same.
Um, I haven't looked it up or looked up my personal chart at all. But I would definitely say just even what you're saying about the resonance, like recognizing that we are relatively magnetic beings and that we really can only exist in the physical in environments that carry a certain resonance for us. So, yeah, I think that that often happens for people when they do travel and they maybe get called to one environment as well as they start to feel like their magnets in their hometown are just like completely wore out and like they just literally don't belong there because there's no more field of resonance for them.
I know where I live, not exactly where I live, but like the next neighborhood, they're what you would call just like the normal going to work, coming home, smoking, drinking, having a takeaway, seeing friends, and then dying of a disease at say 50, right? And
Mm.
these people, like, they love their home, they love their environment, their neighbors, they love their lifestyle, and they could never imagine moving out. And I look at myself and I think of the opposite. I cannot be around this place anymore because I'm not in sync with anyone mentally, physically. I'm like strangers. Like growing up, you're obviously here and you just, enjoy whatever. But in terms of my spirit, my energy, it is all around the world with like-minded, free, awakened people. And it's like I need to be out there connecting with these people, and I cannot imagine being in the same place for more than literally 5 minutes. If I go somewhere, I need to be thinking of the next place because in terms of energy and mass, it always attracts, takes that energy and raises, it takes that energy, raises, and it keeps getting bigger. So you don't move to, say, a place and then that's it for life. You keep going. You go Bali, then Hawaii, then like Grand Canyon, back to maybe Canada, and you keep going where the energies are because the people who have been there before you came from somewhere and they went somewhere else. So if they're on like the same journey of kind of when it feels imbalanced, you move on, then you're no different, but you're just aware of this pattern before it's even happened. Like you're not supposed to be in the same place. Trees don't stay the same, and our environment shouldn't stay the same. And we should always keep moving.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely, after having traveled for the last 3.5 years, it's been interesting because I haven't been like backpacking. I haven't been living like a full-on gypsy lifestyle, but it's been pretty dang close. In the last 3.5 years, I've probably moved at least 20 times and lived with probably at least 50 different people. Maybe even closer to like 70 people, just having lived in different community spaces, intentional communities, sustainable communities. And I would say that it got to a point for me for sure after, living a minimalist lifestyle is definitely the best if you're wanting to travel. You want to be able to, keep your physical belongings relatively light. And something that I chose to do early on, knowing that I wasn't going to be focused on making money, was just carrying with me like my quality items, knowing that you have some kind of value. And I started just giving things away and putting out to the universe like, okay, I know this isn't like cash money, but this is like something really valuable to me. And I'm putting it into like my currency, into my exchange, trusting that it will, come back to me as it needs to, whether it be through food or shelter or a ride to whatever location. And so I just, had been moving around for like 3.5 years of having stuff, giving it away, getting rid of it, getting more stuff, giving it away, getting rid of it, but also like leaving my belongings at a friend's house, getting on a plane and going to the next island. And, or even I was super randomly in Dallas, Texas, never had been there, just decided that's where I was going to live for 4 months. Learned a lot really fast just about myself and my relationship with money. But I also realized that it was of utmost importance for me at this stage in my life. Being relatively experienced and also relatively young, for me to have more of like a home base, someplace where I could leave my belongings so that when I get on a plane, go fly someplace, I know where I'm coming back to, and I don't have the sense of like, okay, universe, whatever is next, I guess. Because that just got really wearing for me after a while of just not being able to just put my stuff down and sit down and nobody could tell me like, all right, you got to be out in 2 weeks kind of thing.
So that's not necessarily parents and where they live or family. Like a home doesn't have to be like where your family was, where you sort of get a house in the village next door. It's just like a base of connection and maybe like the people, the village, the types of foods that are there. I agree. I it's like I do want a place that's like my base, but then it's like I'm always going to be growing, and I don't expect the Chinese restaurant to be there in 10 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get too familiar with the locals and whatever, then it's like I'm expecting that to be my base and stay because I'm going to stay. But the reality is nothing else will stay around. So it is tricky. So then it's like, do you ever buy? Do you buy a house or do you rent? That's another question.
So for me, I'm actually currently right now working towards purchasing a parcel of land. Um, Not for, being around any specific people, but more for having just really fertile soil, or soil that I can amend so that I can live that sustainable lifestyle where I can have my own permaculture garden, grow my own foods. And then, when it comes to family coming to visit, they don't have to worry about groceries. They don't have to worry about going out to eat. We're going to have all of the food growing right there with us and cooking it up ourselves. Also to save, that money, that when I am having money come into me and streamlining into me, saving it up, it's for, improving maybe the house, getting another parcel of land in another environment, or travels, because I really don't think there's any reason whatsoever to be paying for food. So I would love to be in an environment that supported me just being able to sustain myself in that manner.
That's the thing, like my mum told me to go to the shop the other day to get some basil and coriander. It was £1.25 for a plant of basil, and I was like, you could be growing this in your garden for free, and you could just pick it when you want, and not to mention just basil, but every other herb. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to have my own little vegetable patch. I'm like, well, create it. It's something so fun, planting a seed, watching it grow, watering it like it's a child. Like if you leave a child alone, he's going to starve. So you have to keep kind of cooking for him and feeding him. That plant needs your attention just as much, if not more, than a plant does, because, a child can, I don't know, go a few days without food, but if you don't water that plant every day or whatever, it'll die. So looking after a plant makes you feel like you have this sense of authority, like a sense of responsibility, and then you look at it grow and it starts getting really thick, and then it starts to smell, and you start imagining food to create, and then you start thinking about inviting friends over, making a curry with the basil, and then you grow peppers and chilies next to it and some potatoes, and then you think, well, I'll get my own chickens, and I got eggs, and then I can have chicken stew. And it's something so powerful about, not even for the sake of saving money, because yeah, it will save money, but it's just about the excitement of watching something manifest. Like, well, no one's patient anymore. They want to go to the shop and get it now, and so we're not really getting that feeling of progression. And everything in life is about progression. Like, you can't just move out now. It takes time. The same as thinking about a meal to eat. Something very exciting about thinking about what you're going to eat, and then go out and buy the ingredients, and then chop them up and prepare them, and then you cook it. It's just, that's all there is to life, essentially, is eating. Like, and so we've taken all the basic things for granted and sort of seeked other stuff like new TVs and Xboxes, and forgetting the basics of just watching a basil plant grow and then cooking with it. Like, it's phenomenal. So yeah, I had the same vision of buying land and getting like not a shitty caravan, but a 30 grand kind of motorhome. I've even had this idea of a tour bus, right? A used tour bus. It's like 40 grand, right? But it's fucking massive. 2 floors. It's already got everything.
I think you could find it for less than 40 grand, but
yeah. This is just one I looked at. Specifically, it was 40 grand. But yeah, you can get cheap tour bus. But the point is, you've got like long, massive floors. There's many beds on there because it's a tour bus. There's a kitchen. There's a bathroom. Like, to me, that is so exciting. And I think that people are missing out just doing things based on what they see everyone else doing, buying a house at $400,000, whatever, like a 3-bed house, and the garden's pathetic. And then you look outside and you've got everyone else just looking in your window. That's just not life. And the nearest tree is like a 5-minute walk. It's just not. It's why everyone's unhappy.
Yeah, I've noticed that there is this sense, like, people, for whatever reason, however I might understand the reasons, have seemed to have forgotten their connection to life force energy, and that it is always streaming, and it's what keeps us connected to this whole experience. And yeah, just taking the time to watch things grow is really beautiful and really fulfilling. And I think there's been this like stigma around like growing food or getting your hands in the dirt that makes you lesser for whatever reason, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, because it's literally like, that's your food. How is it lesser for someone to be hands in the dirt growing it for you, or for you to be growing it for yourself? That's such it's an it does so much for the human spirit. It seriously does so much for the human spirit, taking the time, as you're saying, to plant a seed, watch it sprout, watch it grow, watch it fruit, get that inspiration, because it does happen just like that. I worked on farms, and you put the seed into the little starter, and then it gets big enough for you to put it into the earth without the birds eating it. So you put it into the earth, and you go out there and you water it every day, and 2 weeks later there's peppers growing, and you can harvest these peppers, and you're like, ooh, what am I going to put in this? And then you're like, oh man, I wish that I would have grown my sweet potatoes too. And then you're like, well, maybe I just should grow my sweet potatoes. Yeah.
No, it's true. Because of the lockdown, we couldn't go to the garden centre and get plants, which are just some person planting a seed 3 months before, growing it, and then we buy it. So it obviously doesn't make sense why the fuck you spend £4 on a bloody seed that you could go to the shop and get about 50 for. Anyway, so I planted loads of seeds around the garden, and I got strawberries, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, chilies. I got the actual cucumber and the strawberries, and I took the seeds out of them, dried them, planted them in my grow bed. All like those things I've just mentioned. They're fucking massive. They're literally thick, and it's growing bigger. The leaves are getting bigger. I'm so excited. And then I look at all the plants around the garden. They were just seeds, like tiny seeds, right? And they're now a plant, and they're growing, and they're massive, and there's flowers on them now. And I go out there and I look at them every day, and I see how much they've grown overnight, and I can't wait to water them, because every day they grow more, and then you've got more flowers, and then they bud, and then there's like more flowers, and then it's like another shoot's coming through that I forgot that I planted, and it's like, oh my god, there's another one. And then I've just planted some grass seed, because my dog used to piss on the lawn and it fucked up the grass basically. So we've been planting the grass seed, putting mud on it, watering it every night. I cannot wait to cut the grass where it's all equal, because I've cut the grass which has got no seed on, but the part that has seeds I can't cut it because it will just fuck it up. But it's so exciting seeing my garden around the fence just with mud. It's just full of flowers, right? And yeah, the stigma behind that person hasn't got any money, or they haven't got any money, or they're just poor or whatever, is fucking outrageous. Those people you see with shitty hair up and crappy clothes, they're the most happiest people around, with their little hair in a bun and kind of dungarees kind of outfit. They don't fit into society, but they're very happy on their little plant lock bit, as we call it in England. You have your little vegetable patch lock. You purchase a little bit of land, and you grow all of your carrots and your stuff. They are so happy that you wouldn't even believe, and yet you're seeing that person as, oh, she goes back to her little caravan on a bit of land. Unfortunately, if life, it comes down to who's happier, we win.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I think that people have gotten so used to having these notifications be this source of instant gratification, as well as releasing, what is it, serotonin or something gets released in the brain. Not serotonin, ecstasy, dopamine. Okay. From this little instant gratification bell that goes off when someone messages you or likes something of yours or whatever it is. And it's something that we look forward to. It's yeah, I'm just sitting here in my bed, but I'm looking forward to the moment when that bell goes off and someone wants to talk to me. And yeah. And I'm thinking, imagine the gratification that comes from going out into your garden and seeing that your leaves are a whole inch bigger today than they were yesterday. And that there's this life that's growing that is literally kind of depending on you. And so not only does it give you that sense of gratification, but it also gives you that sense of fulfillment through responsibility, and also security, knowing that you have your own food growing and nobody can take that from you. So yeah, I think that, I notice it. I talk to more and more people pretty much every day who are throwing seeds in their gardens or getting ready to harvest something that they put in a couple months ago. And that's something that excites me more than anything, because I literally have been on my Instagram for the last 3.5 years telling people pretty much every day the importance of growing your own food. as well as the importance of, living an organic lifestyle. So I do urge anyone who is growing their own food and getting their seeds to get organic seeds as well as organic soil. If you can figure out how to compost some way that works for you, definitely do composting, but try to keep it as biodynamic as you can, as well as organic, because it really is super important to make sure that we're not lacing our bodies with like specific chemicals. I'm not sure what the protocol in London is like, but I know over here in the States, more often than not, you're going to find inorganic seeds and soil, and have to do a little bit more work for the organic stuff, but it's worth it.
That's the thing, you see. I'll take it a step further. Don't buy organic seeds. Get the vegetables, buy the vegetables, take the seeds out. Like, I'm not even kidding, right? A cucumber has about 100 different seeds. One strawberry has about probably 100 seeds on it, right? And one seed can grow a plant that can grow 100 strawberries with 100 seeds. So don't even need to buy the seeds. Like, be even more creative. Go to the fridge right now. If you're listening, go to the fridge right now. Go and get a cucumber, a pepper, a tomato, even an apple. That might take a few years for that to grow, right? But go to the fridge. Just get a bag of compost, right? Put it in a bin, or just get a basket or in a bag, right? Put some soil in, plant the seeds in, and water it. What was I going to say? Yeah, like if you go to the shop, right, you get 6 apples for say £2, right? But yeah, if you put a seed in now, in 3 years, you'll have an actual tree growing like, say, I don't know, 30 apples. And then each year that will grow like probably another 20 apples. So you've got an apple tree. You can get apples whenever you want. You will never need to buy apples again. Obviously, bananas are different because they don't grow in England or whatever. But certain fruits that do, berries, apples, strawberries, you can grow anything. You do not. I told my mum the other day, if it's a vegetable or fruit, you don't need to be going to the supermarket. You can be growing it. And she was like, yeah, I'd like a greenhouse. I said, what will stop you from making a greenhouse then, right? You could be growing stuff in the winter. You just need a heat lamp and a light, whatever. Go to the shop if you want something specific that you can't make, like a TV or a towel or whatever. But if you can eat it, grow it. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to see more community food shares as well. That's one of the farms that I was working on recently. We were doing CSA boxes, which is community supported agriculture, I believe is what it is. And so pretty much if you're growing food to a certain degree and like maybe you're registered as a business or whatever, then you have everything that you need to register to have CSA boxes. So it's $25 per box, and each box is depending on the farm and the community, because essentially like the farmer, the person who's growing the bulk of the food will have, and then talk to the neighbors. Maybe they've got the avocados and the farmer doesn't have the avocados, or they've got the mangoes, or they've got the bananas, or whatever it is. So we resource for an abundance of food, put a bunch of food into a box, the same in each box, whether it's a pound of bananas and 2 limes and some tapioca and some collard greens and some kale and some basil and just a bunch of food all in a box for $25. Really amazing. Also really amazing that if there's someone in the neighborhood doing textiles and making their own fabrics and making their own clothing, to be able to really start leaning into each other and know that the more resourceful I am, the more resourceful the people around me are, the more we share our resources, the more wealthy we really are. And to really move out of this space, that to be wealthy and rich doesn't mean just these, paper dollars, because like in reality, that's not anything. The real wealth is when you start to realize how much we can share with each other, without, grasping onto these resources, knowing that they will continue to flow abundantly, especially if we continue to allow them to. But if you sit on it and you don't share it, that's what creates stagnance. And I think even the plants can feel that stagnant energy. They're not going to, necessarily go fruiting every single year, if you're not eating the fruit, they might get to the point where the tree realizes, because they're so intelligent, that there's, oh, it's okay. So yeah, I don't remember everything exactly where I was in that statement, but just to know that the true wealth really, it comes from like leaning into your community and feeling that you have access to thriving and just moving out of this survival state that, like my sister here that I'm living with, she makes jewelry and she also runs a community compost program, and I'm here and I'm living with her and I'm kind of like working for her to pay like rent essentially. And I'm able to do like massage on her and help her with her composting and just like really to be of service to myself and to something that I believe in, trusting that if I give my energy to it, knowing that my energy is abundant and valuable and prosperous, that it's gonna come back to me and it's gonna feed whatever it is that I'm like channeling it to. And I don't have to rely on money in order to feel this state of abundance in my life.
So one thing that isn't talked a lot about, maybe it's because it is kind of rare, but nevertheless it still exists, is people with freckles, right? Because people with freckles, they don't like to show their freckles because it's not accepted. But it's almost like people don't know they exist because people who have freckles cover them with makeup. So it's almost like you don't know that freckles are real because you never see them. But there's an amazing thing. Freckles are incredible.
Yes.
Freckles are just like, you don't really see them, and I suppose that I don't, for whatever reason, because I don't really see them in men. Maybe the man wears makeup, but they're more common in women. I don't know whether that's true or not, and I also don't know why that would be. But yeah, it's are they really, really rare, or is it just that people do put makeup on their face if they have freckles?
I think for me, freckles are one of the most common things. Granted, pretty much everyone in my family has freckles, some more than others. Like my mother is a full-on ginger, redhead, freckles from head to toe. And my grandmother would tell her that she would only ever be tan when all of her freckles touched. Which was, it's kind of true, and that it hasn't happened. So my mom does not tan often. And for me, I have a lot of freckles, definitely not from head to toe completely like doused in them. But I do think it's interesting, and I have noticed, I remember the first time I really noticed a woman covering her freckles up. It was my volleyball coach in 6th grade. And I just remember like looking at her face and being like, wow, there's something underneath her makeup. And then I realized it was freckles. And then I was thinking like, oh, wow, well, I have freckles. Like, I wouldn't want to cover mine up. That just kind of looks silly. Like, you can kind of see the freckle underneath anyways. So why not, kind of support the freckle rather than cover it? And then I was a professional makeup artist for like 2 years when I was 18 to 20. And I did the full spectrum of women's makeup. I mean, like full spectrum. and I just always did my best to, if I was working with a woman who had freckles, obviously I'm not there with my own agenda. Like, girl, how do you want to look? Because that's what I'm going to do, is make you look the way you want to look. And some girls just absolutely were like, I need to cover my freckles. And some girls were like, well, how do you do it? Because I see you have freckles and I can see them, but your skin looks great. And, I definitely am very blessed with really healthy skin. And I do work to maintain it. But I think also like, it's honestly kind of just like the food and the makeup. It's really just like, what is the media showing us? Because what the media shows us as easiest access is what we think pretty much is all there is that exists. You know, people haven't really been taught to think like, oh, there's more than just what meets the eye. And so I think I was working with a lot of women who just didn't even realize that they could do their makeup without covering their freckles. And then now I see there's even just like little tools to like put freckles on. Like people are like now paying to have freckles. So like you have these girls with freckles that are covering them, and then you have these girls without freckles that are putting them on, and then you have girls with freckles that are covering them and then putting them on. And it's just there's so much to it. But you know, kind of even bringing that again to living a more organic lifestyle is, for the most part, when it comes to like foundation, that like makeup that people put on their skin for the color and to even out the skin tone and stuff, while people are using these like really intense ingredients, these like really, really heavy products that, you know, are oftentimes have cancerous ingredients inside of them, you know, support any kind of maybe cystic acne that you might have that you're trying to cover to begin with. So I really just even reeling that back in, making sure that you're drinking water, making sure that you're breathing properly, making sure that the foods that you're eating are supporting your body, are supporting your biology, and then make so that you have healthy skin. Just make sure that you're healthy and your body is taken care of, knowing that your skin is your largest organ. Literally everything you put onto your skin goes directly into your bloodstream. So it's very important to make sure you're not putting harmful, toxic chemical ingredients onto your skin, keeping that organic. And so then when you go to put makeup on, you're not doing it to cover yourself. Rather, you just already have this canvas that you can work with that's, you know, like evened out and stuff, because you've taken the time to invest in yourself, knowing that kind of like planting whatever seed that you're planting, it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen, you know, immediately. You're not going to have perfect skin overnight if you haven't figured out the regimen that works for you. It's a commitment, and it's even to some degree a discipline to maintain yourself every day. You know, I think on a regular basis, I'm like, geez, when I was a kid, like I did not realize that it took so much work to just maintain the human body. Like I got to be taking showers on a regular basis, filing my nails, brushing my teeth, flossing my teeth, drinking water, eating food, all of this stuff I got to do for myself. No one's going to do it for me. And to even allow that to be kind of that sense of instant gratification, that it's like, okay, the time is passing, nobody's texting me, I'm not getting any messages on my phone, whatever. I have something that I could be doing for myself, whether it be filing my nails, writing in my journal, gaining clarity on my visions, drinking some water. Just like those little tiny things are really gratifying and really fulfilling. And so to, I think, incorporate that mindset into the day-to-day, that, you know, the world is not so mundane. It's actually really beautiful. And if you take the time to like really just drop in and connect with yourself and make sure you're healthy, then when you go to put makeup on, again, it's not going to be to cover anything. It's going to be to like play and enhance and be artistic and explore your natural beauty kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think about this quite often. I can either be a monk doing nothing, just meditating on a rock all day, or I could be doing something. And to me, that's the difference between an ape just, I don't know, swinging on a tree because there's nothing else to do, and then you go to caveman migrating to go to the next land to hunt for fish. So we're used to thinking and doing. These days, thinking and doing is Xbox, it's Netflix, it's social media. But yet, if you break that down to what it's saying, is that your brain needs stimulation. Your brain is looking to do something to get a reward to do it again. So you could say parenting is about giving something to your child, you get the reaction, you do it again. So you use that continuous giving, serving, reward, right? But yet everything is just, everyone's following what everyone else is doing. And if everyone's on social media, everyone's going to be on there looking for that gratisfaction, whatever the fucking word that is, right? Satisfaction, gratitude. I made up a new word, gratisfaction, right? or which is when somebody likes their post. Whereas if it is about just passing time by, you could be, as you said, be doing your hair, doing your nails, lotioning up, going on a walk, doing a journal, planting a seed, watering the seed. That takes time. Going for a walk takes time. Doing your nails takes time. We're talking about each thing might take at least half an hour to an hour. So you could go for a walk, water your flowers, walk your dog, grow some chilies, go to your neighbours and say, hey, I grew some chilies. Do you want some? Oh, thanks so much. And then because you gave to them, well, they make, say, lasagna or shepherd's pie or chicken on a grill, or when they've got some flowers left over, they'll think of you. So by giving out peppers to 7 people now could give you some chocolate, some brewed beer. They could walk their dog when you ask them, all because you just gave something to them. And that's what value and money is. It's trade. That's free trade. I grew some silly chilies in my garden, and you're giving me just some beer, some tomato sauce, like free stuff. And it's just like this continuous cycle of trade. And if somebody says, I've grown some apples, do you want some? Don't say, oh, I've already got some. No, take those apples, give them to some neighbours. Like, don't say, no, I've got some. Take them, be grateful. Go and then give those apples to other people who haven't got apples. Go into the town centre, find a homeless guy and say, hey, bro, do you want some apples? He's not going to be like, no, I'm growing some of my own, thanks. You know, he's going to be like, oh, my God, that's amazing. And just keep trading, like just filter it. It's like, for example, when people give the Queen flowers and gifts, she doesn't bin them and say, I've already got flowers. No, they go to a charity. So all the stuff the Queen gets goes to a charity, and they give the gifts to people. Like, it's all part of the universe anyway. Just keep giving it round.
Exactly.
And you'll realise there's no better feeling than just reaction from your neighbours when you come around with some flowers at 9 in the evening. Like, it makes them feel good. They put it on the windowsill and the flowers are there. And you walk past, you see John still got your flowers there. And then you've grown more flowers and you've grown more veg and you've got tomatoes and I had a cucumber plant last year. It grew like 25 cucumbers. We couldn't even eat them. And they just died. So it's like, give them away.
Exactly. And that's just, it kind of, it's that life force energy. It's that abundance vitality that is constantly flowing. And the more you recognize yourself as a channel or a conduit or a vessel for this energy to just flow through, the more it's going to flow through you. You've got to like first say yes, like, okay, I am going to be, a channel. I am going to be willing to receive this abundance so that I can give it, so that I can receive it, so that I can give it. Whether I need the apples or not, I recognize that maybe they're not for me. They're just meant to move through me to the next person. And like seriously, imagine you have your cucumber plant and you couldn't eat all of them, but you were able to maybe harvest the seeds from them and start more cucumber plants. And then eventually, maybe in 4 months, you're walking around the neighborhood giving everyone a freaking cucumber plant so that they can all grow their own cucumbers. And then your entire block is known for growing cucumbers in the city. So there's another neighborhood that's like, oh, well, let's be the block that's growing pumpkins. So then they start growing pumpkins. And then you've got these two neighborhoods that are trading pumpkins for cucumbers. And then you see another neighbor who's like, oh, well, I don't really like to grow food, but I really like to make pickles. So can I have some of your cucumbers and make some pickles? And then someone's like, wow, I love pickles, but I don't really do anything with food, but I love to, mend clothing. So if anyone has any clothing that needs mending, every Friday, drop it off at my house. I'll mend it and I'll send it back out on Saturday. And then the whole neighborhood's got fresh threads, a bunch of really delicious food growing, and they're still working, and they're like, oh, well, now we have all this money. Like, what do we do? What are we going to invest in? And that's when, like, it gets really fun, I think. And then it's like, do we go for a community yacht or what?
No, that excites me and actually gives me anxiety when I think about that. It's like, I'd want to just do it right now. And the reality is, I've not got any money to fucking do it. So it's like, well, the whole point is you don't need the money. But it's like everything trades in money. So you do need money. So you can't just live this like free holistic monk traveling lifestyle, because the fucking, the person, the Airbnb who you're, staying in, he needs to pay his rent. So it's like, I wish life was just about trade like it used to be, but it's about money. But it gives me anxiety when I hear stuff like that. I get so excited how I just want to grow all these cucumbers to then give them away, and then I envision the next town growing peppers, and then we start trading, and then we have all this money because you gave them a massage and you cut their hair, but then there was money left over because for whatever reason cutting hair is more expensive than a massage, and it's like, well, we've got 30 quid, what do we do? And so it's like, well, we could get a bag of seeds for oranges or a bag of seeds for strawberries. You get like 50 bags of seeds of strawberries for 30 quid, and you only need a bloody seed from one strawberry in the fridge. And so then it's like, oh my god, we could put 30 quid in and get some land to like multiply all these fruit and veg. Like, you only need a small, like, you need like 2 meters by 2 meter patch of land to grow like 15 types of vegetables. Like,
You don't need much.
you don't even need, you could just go to a local public field, right, and plant some seeds, and then every day go up there and water it. Like, no one's gonna know it's there, and what they're gonna do, be like, oh look, there's a random cucumber growing in the field, let's pick it. Like, that's fine by me. That's why I've grown it. Like, up yourself. But it's a good idea, actually. You don't often.
So what do we do when we get all of the money and we don't have to spend it on food and shelter anymore?
So say that again.
What do we do when we have all the money and we don't have to spend it on food and shelter anymore?
Well, that's the thing, is that I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always wanted a big, like, 20 million pound house. And the reality is, it's almost like a dream you've been fed, which is unrealistic. So you see it, but it's like old money back in the day when everyone who had money invested in other stuff to make money. So money made money because no one else was doing it. But now everyone's doing it. The value of one thing is like divided because there's so many other people doing it. So this dream about having a big 20 million pound house, it's essentially, it's like wanting to take grandma to a restaurant, and grandma died 5 years ago because you thought about going out for dinner with her, but you never did it. That thought's in your head still. It's like, grandma died 5 years ago. There's like, get that thought out of your head. So it's like, what do you do with money when you have, say, your land, you've got your caravan, a flush caravan, by the way, not some kind of like old shitty muggy one. You've wallpapered the walls, you've got nice carpet, you've got a nice modern sink, you've got a vegetable patch outside, you've got all the vegetables, you've got a little cage for chickens, you've got a moped or a car that will last you for 10 years or whatever. What do you do? And the answer is, well, you get on a plane and go on holiday, because that's the only thing I'd spend money on. If I had my house,
exactly.
no, if I had my house and I had money, I had my local gym membership, tennis membership. It's like, well, that's going to be my foundation. Like, what do I do now? And the answer is, you go out. So you need transport. And I don't mean driving in to a city an hour away. No, I mean get a plane to another country. So then you want a nice first class bed on the plane, because I'm not sitting upright to Australia for 24 hours because sitting's bad. So that first class flight, say £5,000. So I need £5,000. I need a place to stay. I don't particularly want to stay in a shithole, so I might stay in a nice hotel. That costs money. And then it's travel with the taxi man. And then it's going out for dinner, because you can't just go on some random person's crop site and be like, I'm just taking a cucumber. Like, you want a massage? Let me know. I'll come around and massage your feet. So it's like, to me, that's what money would end up buying, going into another country and how that country operates. But apart from that, you're right. Once you have money, you've got your shit, which doesn't really require much money, like land, caravan, crops. To be honest, caravan's 20 quid, piece of land, maybe £5,000, sorry, 20 grand for the van. Land's £5,000, vegetables, free of charge. Knock on your neighbour's door and say, have you got any cucumber left in the fridge? Like, that it's going to go in the bin. Take it, plant it, So now what? You've got your clothes, unless they've got holes in. You don't really need a Gucci top for fucking 1,000 quid. Don't need a handbag, because you're minimalistic. You don't carry shit. You don't need creams, because you don't wear creams. You don't need makeup, because you don't wear makeup. You don't wear tampons, so you don't need tampons. It's like, why do I need money? And that is the big question. Why do you need money if you've got everything that you need?
Well, I would say that you don't. There's this like a conversation that I've had with quite a few beings about that our frequency is our currency. That is our rate of exchange. It doesn't matter, if you come to a situation and you've got absolutely no money at all, if you know how to work your magic, you know what your gifts are, you know how to offer who you are to every environment you choose to step foot in, having that energy of, abundance, life force streamlining through you, then you could be literally cruising with millionaires and they're not going to know, and they're not going to care how much money you have in your pocket, because of the way that you're carrying yourself, because of your frequency, because of your currency, because you are exchanging energy with them, and they are able to perceive your value because you are embodying your value, knowing it. For me, when I think about money and having a lot of money after I have just like my own personal acreage, something that I'm working towards investing in is retreat centers around the world. I'm thinking pretty much I want to have multiple estates that I am, free to live and peruse in. I want to have one in Greece. I want to have one in Hawaii. I want to have one in Costa Rica. I want to have one in South Africa. I want to have one in Tokyo. I want to have these beautiful, minimum like an acre. Doesn't have to be much, enough for there to be, a small fruit forest, a garden, and a beautiful house for people to come retreat in. And because I'll have just all of my abundance. I already have all of my abundance just like filling me up, that I'm not going to have these retreat centers based off of profit. I'm going to have them based off of people and planet. There are amazing people all around the world who need to have the opportunity to be able to just drop in and realize like, hey, this lifestyle is available. Maybe they didn't know how to do a permaculture garden, and they didn't know how easy it is to put your seed in the soil, and it just kind of does its own thing as long as it's got some water and the soil is healthy. But for people to have the opportunity to drop in, for a week or two and just retreat into this energy of like, whoa, okay, I'm connected to life. What visions do I have for myself, and how can I activate my own visions? And really just hold space for people to tune in to their fulfillment, and feel supported to acquire it. And so that's kind of like one thing that I have. And then I even think like, I want to have like my own private jet, so that when my family is like, hey, let's go to Greece, I'm like, okay, I'm going to send my pilot out to get you guys, meet you there, and again, they don't have to worry about the cost of anything because we're just living in full abundance.
See, it sounds like me. I want this materialistic lifestyle to the extreme because that's what life is. But at the same time, I don't want any of it. But it's like, well, the reality is that everything is based on materialistic. A massage, you need a bloody table to do the massage on. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out and have everything. I want the jet, I want the yacht, I want a £20 million house in every country. But at the same time, I don't want any of that. I'd just rather live in a fucking cabin in the mountains. But it's like, I'm in a world where everything runs by money, and I want to be the best, so I need the money, and that's what the struggle is. How can I have this natural lifestyle with no phones and nothing, but yet need my fucking phone for podcasting and Instagram and everything? And so it's like, you just got to face the facts that it's just the way life is, and you either keep up and do it the best, or you don't. And I had an idea as you said that. The retreats, for example, right? People get to live in the retreat for say a week or whatever, but rather than them paying you to live there on your land, they have a duty. So let's just say that you've got say 10 retreats that need the linen doing. That one person will stay a week and their job is to do the linen. The other person who stays, their job is to cut the grass and like prune all the vegetables and water them. Just whilst they're there, it's almost like specific jobs for the time that you're there. And then you have somebody else who is, say, I don't know, but you get what I'm trying to say. So rather than them paying in cash, they just do a role, which would save you money, because if you have to pay somebody to do the bed sheets and cut the grass, that's going to cost you money. But if, for example, they are doing it, you don't have to spend any money. They get their free rent, which is unheard of because that will cost them $2,000. So you're directly exchanging service for service rather than you paying them paying you paying them. No, hang on a sec. Rather than them paying their landlord to stay and then you paying them to work, it's just cut the middleman out.
Exactly.
Subject to you already making your money back, and then you could make your money through however. But that was just an idea that came into my head, just a nice direct trade.
And that's exactly how I envision it, is, kind of going off of like, what's easiest for you? Is it easiest for you to pay me? Okay, then you can pay me money. If you need to have this retreat space, is it easiest for you to fold the bed sheets and help with the dishes? Then do that, and then also really tuning into the individual self and what actually feels good for them. Because I don't want someone making the bed if they're miserable making the bed and they would rather be out weeding the garden. You know what I mean? Well, then go weed the garden if that's what feels good for you. And just really honoring that the creation is designed in such an intelligent way that it really will work, that if each person just does at least the number one thing, maybe the top two things that bring them the most joy and fulfillment in each moment, that we're going to reach a natural state of equilibrium, because that's just the way that the universe was designed, is that we need to constantly be balanced. So then you've got someone whose favorite house duty is vacuuming and sweeping. Someone else's favorite house duty is, like, literally, I have favorite things that I like to do in the house. I would probably much rather wash the dishes than I would scrub the bathtub. And maybe someone would much rather scrub the bathtub than wash the dishes. We're going to naturally balance each other out, especially when we come into community spaces. And just like as an entire global collective, everything is going to get done that needs to get done naturally, because we're just inclined to, fill holes. We're adaptive beings. And so when we see something that needs to be done, someone is eventually going to go do it. Granted, you don't want to be moving around assuming like, oh, I'm not going to pick that trash up, someone else will do it. If you feel just like the smallest inkling to take responsibility for something, I think it's also really important to honor that feeling and that inspiration, and to consider it to be inspiration, like, rather than be like, oh man, I feel obligated to wash the dishes because it just keeps running in my mind all day long, is like, oh, you gotta wash the dishes, and I could be like, oh, I feel obligated, or I could be like, hey, I feel inspired, like something inside of me keeps inspiring me to wash these dishes, and to kind of change that narrative right there. But also, like, wow, there's so much to it. But I really do think that if everyone was to follow their like pleasure and fulfillment, everything would be taken care of in the world, and then we could just like do more things that feel good.
Because we see everything as like a humanitarian basis, which is 8 billion humans around the world. Saying that and imagining 8 billion human beings doing that is simply non-existent. We've come from small tribes. We'll go back to small tribes. So this vision will be like, say, no more than 50 people. In reality, you'll have the 50 retreat place in here, Brazil, Greece, America, England, whatever. And it operate in its own form. So you got a makeup artist and a massage person and a vet. And then she'll be like, hey, I want a massage tonight. And she'll give them a massage, and then she'll do the nails. And then the other person's like, you like cooking, but I can't fix something. So it won't be like, 500 people all on this same retreat, because that's just not how it works. Tribes aren't that big. It will be like a small local tribe in different areas. Do you agree?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I wanted to say that was like maybe 2 things back was just honoring that we are material beings. And some people, I think, come here and realize that there's this like transcendence, ascendance thing that can happen, which is totally a thing. Plenty of yogis and masters and ascended masters and higher beings, all, whatever, we're like, oh, we could do more than just experience this physical plane. We can go play in other dimensions. It's literally been done for thousands and thousands of years. However, for me, I didn't come to the material world to not experience it. I came to the material world to experience the pleasures of the material world. And it took me some time of realizing that for sure. After choosing to live minimally. And then I realized, but hey, I still want luxury. Like, I don't need 10 golden bathtubs, but I'll definitely take one. And to not feel ashamed that, like, yeah, I would take a bath in a golden bathtub. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, there's nothing, I'm not bad or wrong for, it's not like my drive. I'm not like out there trying to get a golden bathtub, but by all means, someone is offering it to me, I'll take it. And I did in the past, maybe would have felt some kind of shame, like, wow, Morgan, like, do you really need that though? Like, can't you just settle for something else? And then it's like just getting all of that out, just like, I don't have to settle. I can literally have the most luxurious lifestyle I imagine for myself. And then you asked what was your question? Do you remember?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea.
It was about the size of the tribes and stuff. So yeah, so I'm actually working on right now, I'm building a platform, and I am in 100% need of someone who does website designing and coding, because this is going to be, it's like it's a really, from what I've been shown, it's a pretty important project. And I've been getting clarity and downloads on it, as I continue to write it down and get it out of my head. It gets clearer and clearer as I write it down. But the website, the platform is called tribalcity.org. And it's designed for the cityscapes, because there is definitely a theme in the collective where people are beginning to gather again, and they're starting to do more tribal activities, ceremonies, cacao ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies, drum circles, fire ceremonies. Just like, people are really starting to bring back this quality that, life is sacred and we can gather together and be in communion with each other and set these intentions as a group and hold a certain space and kind of like open up these energetic portals when we're connecting and gathering with each other, setting these intentions. A lot of the gatherings that I go to, we set intentions that whatever healing occurs in the space that we're in together is sent out to the collective, and so that all of humanity can, receive that healing as well. But Tribal City is essentially going to be this space where people can connect with these types of gatherings that are happening in the cityscapes. So in places that are, more skyscraper kind of, but they're still holding ceremonies in these spaces. And what I see is kind of, when it comes to like these living spaces and getting back into the sustainability that is just like the natural flow of life, that it's going to be like these little, I kind of see them as like amoebas. When you have like a group of people all together, circling and hugging and dancing and growing their food and cooking their meals, it's kind of like an amoeba. It's like a healthy running cluster of cells. And it exists here, and then there's another one here and another one here, and they're all around the world. But we know that we're following these kinds of these rites of life, and we can go from community to community. You don't have to live in one forever, kind of as you were saying. You can move around, and anywhere you go, there's going to be a group of people participating in the same practices. And so that you still have that connection, even if you're not with the people that you've been growing your food with for the last 5 years, you can go connect with another group of people who are doing the same thing, living, with that same conscious awareness inside of them.
Yes, magical. Done about an hour. So plug any websites, social medias, projects that you're doing.
So you can find me at Morganic on Instagram with 2 R's. And you can find me, I mostly am just streaming on Instagram right now, and tribalcity.org is up. but it has a lot of toying around to be done. So you can access it if you want to kind of peek at it and just catch the vibe of it, because it definitely has, its resonance. But I would just say Morganic on Instagram right now is the most reliable space to connect with me.
Okay, right. I'm going to stop recording. Wait there, and I will talk afterwards.